Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you again for joining us for another edition of Talk with Tasha. I am Tasha Harper-Madison, proud City Council representative, representing District 1 in East and Northeast Austin. Every Wednesday evening at 6:30, I'm coming to you live to highlight critical issues and elevate important voices. So 2020 has really thrown us all for more than a few loops, right? And it can be hard to tell which way is up, which way is down. That's why sharing accurate information about vital resources is one of my top priorities. And don't forget, this is a two-way conversation. Through the course of the show, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, just pop them in the comments section. And even if you don't get them answered throughout the course of the show, what often happens is our guests will come back and answer them later. And if they're for me, I'll come back and answer them later as well. We might not have time to answer them all tonight. Please remember that. We will get to them though, I promise. We've known since early on that COVID-19 is especially dangerous to Black, Brown, and lower income people, many of whom are our neighbors in District 1. But just as marginalization means a lack of access to healthcare, it also produces a lack of access to information, valuable information about resources. Coming up, I'll talk to one of my community partners about a targeted outreach program we launched last week and what she heard from our neighbors most in need. We'll also have a KAZI talk show host and Capital Metro Community Engagement Coordinator, Giannis Banks, to tell us about how the agency is coping with COVID and what the future of transit in Austin could look like. Finally, our physical facilities are closed, but that is not stopping the Austin Public Library System from fulfilling its mission. We'll learn why APL just can't keep quiet about all the amazing opportunities it has on offer to help kids stay intellectually engaged at home. Before we bring on our first guest, I want to announce again, as usual, remind everybody about free COVID testing offered by the Austin Public Health. If you or anyone you know is uninsured and or feeling symptoms, head to www.austintexas.gov/COVID-19. Again, that's www.austintexas.gov/COVID-19. First, you register, then you take an assessment. If you qualify, you can schedule your testing appointment. Once you're done, you will receive your results right on your cell phone. It is important that very important that your immigration status does not matter and will not be shared, just so you know. So don't worry about that. Again, the website is www.austintexas.gov/COVID-19. Well, so lots of people in Austin have the privilege of being engaged and having easy access to information at their fingertips. When you got money in the bank, food in the fridge, it's easy to pay attention to other things like pandemic news alerts. But for those folks on the margins who struggle to pay their utility bills or who work essential jobs but have no childcare, just keeping your head above water can take all your energy. That's why I initiated plans for a targeted outreach program earlier this summer. Working with the group known as 10,000 Fearless First Responders and Austin City staff, as well as my staff, we put together a pilot that I hope will be able to go citywide soon. My first guest is from 10,000 Fearless, and believe me, she lives up to the name. She's bold, she's brimming with energy, and completely fearless, and fearlessly dedicated to serving our community. Sister Christina Mohammad, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Tasha.
You broke up a little bit, but I'm pretty sure you were complimenting me and saying something really nice.
Absolutely. I would just say thank you so much for all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate having you. So for those who aren't familiar, tell them about 10,000 Fearless First Responders, who y'all are, what you do, and how and why did you organize the organization?
Well, who we are, first, my name is Christina Mohammad. I am the coordinator for the 10,000 Fearless First Responders. And who we are just that. We are a community, a group of community people that said, no, we're not going to sit around. We're not just going to wait. So we came together. We looked at the survival level of our people, and we said it is time for us to start taking accountability for our own communities. So what it is, 10, 10, 15. We put together a group. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he talked about justice or else, and he talked about coming together in our people and what we can do to help our people and not just sit around anymore and just say what needs to happen. We are the actual boots on the ground. This is what we look forward to. So when it comes to our people and our people needing us and needing us, we have to be there, be the first responders. The police officers can't do it by themselves. The fire department cannot do it by themselves. We have to have a group of community people that come together and say, look, we're going to do it. We love our people. We're taught that action speaks louder than words. So guess what? This is exactly what we're showing. Action speaking louder than words. So what we do for the team, we move out wherever there may be a disaster. We find ourselves and we move pronto as soon as we hear there is a disaster. Before a disaster, we teach and train our community how to work through any type of disaster, how to, again, take accountability. So then, therefore, if there's an emergency in your home, such as, someone gets hurt, you're able to know how to do CPR. If there's trauma work, you're able to triage your own home until the actual fire department, until the paramedics get there, until the police get there. We learn how to take those accountabilities, and we're able to move around and do. So we just move around in our community. We service as far as whatever needs to take place. We're there. We're the first responders. So we try to always, that's our motto. We try to always move and be there first for our people. So that's just a small gist of who we are and what we do.
Thank you for elaborating, and thank you for all y'all do. I don't think a lot of folks know that you deliver meals in the community, you offer and provide safety and security in the community. Early on, when we were looking for folks to start distributing information at Givens Park and pushing real hard to get Givens Park to become a testing site. Now it has become so. And unbeknownst to me, there was another community group actively working to get that to happen. But, you and I pushing for that and some of the other initiatives, I think a lot of people really just don't know how much y'all actually do in the community. So I really love being able to take this opportunity to say thank you. So the outreach pilot we organized together. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. So the outreach pilot that we organized together, it was in recognition of the fact that COVID-19 is disproportionately affecting Black, Latinx, and lower income people across our country and here in Austin, Texas. So tell us about what you and your team did last week.
Oh, wow. I have to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much, Councilwoman. You are just absolutely amazing. Just working and partner up with you. It goes again to that leadership and
you're freezing up on me a little bit. Well, so while her video comes together, I'll give you guys sort of a little bit of insight about what they did. So what they did was they took a list that we've compiled of apartment complex. We tried to keep it in kind of a tight radius, just because we knew we had limited time. We had 1 week, we had a limited budget, and we had 1 week to be able to show that we could execute this pilot and that this was the kind of program that we needed to apply citywide. So obviously my first concern was District 1, but District 1 extends way out to almost Hornsby Bend, way up to almost Manor and Pflugerville. And then, we have a northern boundary that's around Parmer and Breaker, where Desi hits Parmer. That's a lot of folks don't realize we stretch all the way out there. And so us recognizing that even if we start in District 1, what about districts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I mean, we really wanted to, oh, there you are, you're back. So we really wanted to make sure that the pilot went well. Hey, sis, you're back. You froze a little bit. So I was just kind of elaborating on the question that I asked. If you wanted to add anything about what we did, I was just kind of telling them about how we got there and what the motivation was. But maybe because y'all had boots on the ground, you could fill us in with a little info on what you experienced while you were out there.
Absolutely. I would say it was absolutely phenomenal. You know, you can hear certain things. You can hear people chattering in the background talking about what people's needs are, but you really don't know until you do have boots on the ground. And one thing that I can say, us going door to door and talking to our people, we realized that there's a lot of people, honestly, we were able to go in there and not just ask the questions, what do you need? What assistance do you need? But we were able to lock heart to heart with people to see that there were some people that were really, really having a difficult time. And just by being someone coming to their door, they were able to say, man, this makes me feel good. And that was a lot of the responses that I have to tell you that we got. It was like, thank you all so much for caring. You know, people can say they care, but when you're at my doorstep and you're asking, what do you need? What can we help you with? And to be able to be there and assist, that was such a beautiful thing. So what actually happened is everything we saw on the front lines, people saying we food emergency, but you got a person, you know,
you're breaking up on me again. I don't know if you can hear us okay, but we can't hear you. Try to say something.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Better?
Yes.
Is that better?
That is better.
So it was beautiful. Good. It was so beautiful going door to door to people's homes and going through the list with them, taking time with them. You know, that was really, really important with social distancing that they had. Are you able to still hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Uh-oh.
No, we can hear you. I don't know.
Okay, good. So I'm going to step out as well.
Okay.
Yes, I can. Let me step out. So to be able to go door to door, social distancing, and to speak to the people and teach the people, and they see us that we're covered up, but they see that we care about them, listening to their needs. It was almost as if we're doing boots on the ground, but you have a person that's.
Oh, I think we lost you again. All right. Well, so I'll fill y'all in. They knocked on over 500 doors. They went to over a half dozen apartment complexes. And so we're working with the city manager right now and our budget office, and we are going to find, you know, the resources to make this happen. We want to extend the pilot for a few more weeks just to make sure we smooth out those edges before we really put forward a citywide program. So I'm super proud of what we were able to accomplish. I know that boots on the ground community needs assessment, not just, you know, offered people an opportunity to see that we care and that we're in the community, asking them, you know, have you been contacted? Have you received information? More importantly, we were able to conduct a real-time community needs assessment and be able to provide folks with information about available resources. Some of the questions that we asked were along the lines of, how many folks are in your house? How many students are in your home? Do y'all have enough digital devices? How are you on food, transportation? Are you? So it was basically, you know, assessing people's immediate need and really being able to ascertain whether or not folks have the necessary PPE. That's another thing that we are really, you know, struggling with, is getting PPE out in the community. I know that there are several organizations doing it. So it was just really great to be able to see the direct result of our effort in that way. And so considering that the pandemic really doesn't have an end in sight that we know of, and that they're working so hard, I'd like very much for us to all just, you know, send out our, you know, our good juju and thank you to them, and thank yous rather to them, and hope that they're not experiencing too much in the way of stress or trauma, and that they're taking care of themselves. So I know she's not with us on the screen, but oh, you're back. Okay.
I am back, going in and out for some reason, but I am back. Yes, ma'am. I heard you talking. Will you want me to finish sharing, or did you pretty much share what?
Well, so I tell you what, you know, we're pushing up on 6:50, and so there was a question that I was going to ask. You know, I was just encouraging our audience to make sure to keep, you know, you and people like you, organizations like you, in their thoughts, making sure to send you that good energy, because, you know, this really is going to be a marathon and not a sprint. I just want to know, have you had to make any
That's
adjustments
right.
to deal with stress and trauma? And, how have you had to shift to take care of yourself and to keep pushing?
I would have to say I'm thankful. And I'll have to say, we have to pull on to our God. No matter what name we call him, we just have to call him, right? Because seeing and hearing some of those things, it makes you just pray and it makes you show a lot more gratitude. I remember going to a door and one of the door person said, I'm so glad you're here because we were starving.
Wow.
When you think about your children and think about your household, you immediately become grateful. It
Right.
immediately makes me have more and want to do more boots on the ground to show my people we got to go find those people who need to eat. We have to find those people who are being put out of their homes and don't have electricity. If you don't have electricity, you don't have food. So those type of things are heavy. But when you're able to talk about it, me and my team, we can talk about it and we can do the job. And by talking about it and doing the job and establishing the love and showing the love, that gives us a greater relationship, I feel, with my creator. And I thank so much, my God, so much for loving and caring for us to be able to allow us to give back to our people, to find those vulnerable people, the vulnerable population, and to be able to help. So I tell you, it is a struggle, but we just got to go ahead and give it and put it on our prayer rug and say a prayer and ask him to help us. So it has been absolutely wonderful, something that I will never forget. And I'm just thankful to God that we're able to get in there and to assist our people.
I appreciate you so much. I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but your enthusiasm and that love and care that's just bubbling out of you is so infectious. I just really appreciate your energy so much. Sister Christina, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you, and I really look forward to our continued efforts to make Austin the best place it can be, because everybody will have what they need. Thank you very much. Safe travels.
Thank you. Love you. Bye, guys.
Man, she just makes you want to smile and be happy. What a beautiful spirit. So earlier this week, City Council and the Capital Metro Board, we voted to move Project Connect just one step closer to the November ballot. We're now looking at an initial local investment of $3.8 billion in a new transit system that would give us 2 light rail lines, enhanced bus service in all parts of town, including District 1, and the Green Line commuter rail service in the Eastern Crescent. And for those of you who don't know, that's at sort of Loyola, Decker, out towards Hornsby, up towards Manor area. Included in that package would be $300 million to prevent displacement related to prevent displacement related to these investments. So while this future transit system is fun to think about, it's also worth considering our present transit system, particularly during this pandemic. So to help us do both, here tonight is Capital Metro Community Engagement Coordinator, Giannis Banks. He also hosts a talk show on KAZI, so I hope he's not judging my amateur skills too harshly tonight. Giannis, thank you for joining us.
Hey, no, thank you for having me. You're doing great. I just actually finished doing the show, so my voice is kind of raspy a little bit, but you're doing wonderful.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And your voice is just fine. And thank you for joining us. After it's so funny. Now we're doing everything remote. Everybody's meeting back to back. There's no break in between. So thank you for joining us. And we won't keep you too long, but I really do think you have some very important insight that a lot of folks, most laymen don't spend a lot of time thinking about how we move people to the places they got to go. So I really appreciate you being able to bring that subject matter expertise and really talk to our folks about, what they can look forward to and, kind of what Cap Metro does. So Cap Metro provides an essential service and gets workers to their jobs, grocery stores, hospitals, but more. So tell us about the adjustments that y'all have had to make during the pandemic. And I think really I want to drill in on, are there any plans to update those anytime soon?
Sure, yeah. So we had to make quite a few adjustments when the pandemic hit because, of course, we didn't want people on the vehicles if they didn't need to. the way the numbers have been going up. And so we've been encouraging people to just, ride for where you have to go. No joy rides is just riding around, but get around where you have to go.
Right.
So when it first happened, I think what you saw that we had to make the adjustments of going, trying to have contactless fares. And that's why the fares was free for a few months, because we wanted to keep the operators safe as much as possible. And so we can have people enter to the back door. And then during that time, we did things like putting chains up on some of the seats saying, hey, or at least up front, so people wouldn't go up front, putting signs on the vehicles and seats saying, skip a seat to help with social distancing as much as possible. We installed some plexiglass barriers up where the operators are to help keep them separate from our riders, our customers, and also to help keep the particulates from floating in the air, getting on them. As well as, we have been doing cleaning on our bus routes, our busier bus routes that are stopping at some of the transit centers. We're doing some mid-route cleanings where we had people go on and they would clean the bus while they're sitting at that transit center. We did enhanced cleaning at night when they come in. We had been using, some of the industrial cleaner, but we upped that up to some of the health cleaners to help clean the buses. And we're looking at what the industry is doing, some of the recommendations of just how we can continue to make it as safe as possible. And so, we have started to do the fares again, but we think we've done a good job with with the plastic barriers of keeping the contactless, keeping that safe barrier between the operators and our customers. And we're still encouraging people, to do your essential trips for when you have to ride Metro. But don't just ride it for the sake of riding it. We still want people to do essential trips. Our numbers are going down as far as some of the COVID cases, but we want to continue to move in the right direction. We're still moving about 40,000 people a day still of essential workers and people who have to get to where they need to go, whether it's to work, to the doctor's office or what have you. We're still moving people. And so, we want people to be ready, but we will look to when, when UT comes back in, we'll be looking to have some more routes going, having the shuttles going, increasing some of the frequency of the routes and some of the buses on the routes. We are monitoring our buses to make sure that, okay, if we are getting reports of the buses are a little too crowded, let's get some more buses on those routes to help with the social distancing on the vehicle. And so you'll be seeing that. And we're just trying to make the adjustments, working with the CDC and their data, of course, Austin Public Health and their information, and and working with the city as well, of just trying to make sure we're doing all we can to keep people safe.
Awesome. Thank you. Man, that's kind of unbelievable. 40,000 people that are still getting to where they have to go in the middle of a pandemic. I really appreciate that y'all are taking those necessary precautions. It's so important. So here we are, 4 months into the pandemic here in Austin. The cases spiked last month, but the curve is starting to bend downward again. I'm assuming, some of what you just said about, discouraging people from not taking trips unless they're necessary. So I would assume that means don't go to the park. Don't go pick up some to-go food. Don't go out for lunch to hang out with friends by way of public transit. Is that basically the message that y'all are sending to folks?
Yeah, pretty much. If you have to go get you something to eat because you just maybe have nothing at the house because you haven't gone, or maybe you want to support that local business and do your part. Okay, this one time I can go. Okay, we understand you're going to ride. We ask you to do social distance. We ask you to wear face covers. Face covers are required to ride our vehicles. I think we've gone to saying mask now. We've been giving out care packages. We had people over in Republic Park today, Republic Square, passing out packages that had mouth face covers in there, mask in there. I think some hand sanitizer as well, and I believe some gloves. And so we're trying to do our part to help people who may not have it, or you may need an extra. Here's what you can have to help keep you safe. And we actually are looking to put some hand sanitizer on our buses too as well, and so we can have that and on the train as well. But yeah, we're asking people, do your essential trips. Don't go to the park. You want to go to the park and hang out. You don't need to be at the park hanging out. Stay home. You don't need to be on the bus. If you need to go to the doctor, you have to go to the grocery store. You have to go get you something to eat. You have to go to work, what have you. Yeah, your essential trips, take them on Metro. That's okay. But trips that are not essential, I understand people want to get out the house. Cabin fever is real, but maybe go outside in your front yard as much as you can, but just don't get on and ride around the bus. It's not safe for you. It's not good for your community. It's not good for our operators. Just be out there to be out there.
I appreciate that. Thanks for clarifying. Y'all have been stepping up a lot this summer, and I don't mean just moving people around. So that's just one more way. The information to the general public is so important and so necessary. So thank you really for sharing that information. So before the pandemic, ridership was kind of trending upwards, and things look pretty bright for Cap Metro. Even though it doesn't seem like it, we know that we'll make it through this pandemic eventually, right? So I'd like to ask you just to kind of expand. So we know that Austin needs to make major investments in new transit. We know that, right? I sometimes have friends that visit from other major metropolitan cities, and they are just shocked and amazed that we just aren't further along. We're a major metropolitan city. We are the 11th largest city in the nation. We absolutely need to make investments in our transit infrastructure. And I really think that that's where Project Connect is going to come in. Do you want to give us just a quick elevator pitch on that process?
Sure, yeah. So Project Connect, we've been talking about it for a while, but we also know that we haven't been able to hit everybody. And so you haven't heard about Project Connect. It's the long-term transit plan that we have for the city of Austin and for the region. I think you highlighted that as you was bringing me on earlier of how we want to move people, whether it is an additional Marine line, a commuter line, going from downtown Austin out to Cottony Park with plans for the future to get to Manor and Elgin. It is adding 2 new light rail lines. As you mentioned, we're the 11th largest city in the country, and you look at other places that are similar size to Austin, and you see the transit that they have and how they're able to move people. And we've been behind. We've been behind on what we need to do. And this is a system-wide plan. I think, stuff you've seen in the past may have just been one line here or a line here. This is a system-wide thing of moving people, where we will eventually add 9 new bus rapid transit lines to go along with the 2 that we have now. And, we will have our new light rail, the orange line, which will go from Tech Ridge down to South Park Meadows. If you're familiar with what our 801 does, that's what it will do. And if you've ever been on the 801 doing, the peak hours, how crowded that bus can get. And so, we are at capacity for that vehicle. And if you've been on some of our other buses that do come every 15 minutes, you've seen how full they can be before the pandemic. They're full as well. And so we're looking at adding some rapid lines along those also, because we know we need to help move people better and be more efficient with it. And by doing better transit, we can help improve people's lives. And equity is going to be a very big part of this conversation, as you mentioned earlier. We want to help improve your life to where if you have to ride our vehicles, we can get you there in a better time, a more efficient time, thus giving you time back to spend with your family, your friends, your loved ones, or doing what you need to do.
Awesome. I sort of wonder, you have the opportunity to get some pretty unique insights. So as the community engagement coordinator, you're out in obviously more pre-COVID, but I'm saying that you guys are making the necessary adjustments for you to continue to really reach out to people. So as the community engagement coordinator, I'm curious, what are you hearing from the community about Project Connect? What are folks saying?
Sure. There's people who are definitely excited about it. There's folks who, like you said, you've had friends say, why don't y'all have what we have here? There's people who are definitely saying it's time. And understandably, there's also some folks who are concerned about, what's going to happen, how this can impact them. And we understand that this is definitely a scary thing, especially now that you have what's happening with COVID. And, we want to make sure that we can do things that helps the city. We want to make sure this is an equity focused plan, and equity is involved in this plan. And so we're making these decisions that we can help improve people's lives. We know that people don't like to wait a long time for buses to come, for vehicles to come, to trains to come. People don't like to wait a long time for it. And that's part of this plan, is helping doing the improvements to help our red line as well, so we can have a more efficient and faster running red line, that commuter train. And we're able to do the light rail. We'll be able to have 5-minute frequency, but when it's built out of vehicles coming, people don't like to wait a long time, and I understand that too. I've definitely have had to ride our buses, before the pandemic, and nobody likes to wait a long time when you have to get somewhere. And it's something that I think the community has been wanting for a long time. Is not just something that's good for one part of the town, but how is this going to help everybody? And that's what you're getting from Project Connect. You're getting something that's going to help the whole city, the city as a whole. When you tie that into our local routes, and we add in, using technology, and we're adding our innovation zones where you can have pickup, which is, I think we have two in District 1, if I'm correct. There's two pickup zones there where we have on-demand service, and we'll be able to have more of that throughout the city. And there's been a great response to that service where, pre-pandemic, as with all of our services, the ridership was very great on that service in those zones. So, it's something that folks have been wanting, folks that they've been needing. And I think they want to make sure that when we do it, it's going to help people, it's going to be beneficial, and it's going to be something that the city can get behind, the community can get behind. And it's been overall a positive thing where people are excited about this. And, they're just anxious now to see what's next, how this is going to play out, what's going to be built first, and how soon we can get this going. But yeah, as you mentioned, the $300 million that was put in there for displacement, that was very important, because that was a concern for a lot of people was, what's going to happen to people who are living in those areas, or what are you going to do about affordable housing? And, that's us working with the city saying, we need to do something. And the city stepped up. Y'all stepped up and, pledged to do the $300 million and put out there the $300 million will be part of that package. And that's going to go a long way to help keep people in their homes, but as well as, working to build affordable housing where people can move into areas and benefit from what's being built.
I appreciate that you added that piece, because that's one of the most important parts. Sometimes transit infrastructure does in fact mean displacement. So oftentimes when we do that transit oriented development, there's not enough focus on, displacement prevention and mitigation. And I really appreciate that we're making a major investment in that with this plan. There's something you said earlier that I'd like for you to clarify something. Did you say innovation zones?
Innovation zones, yeah. That's
when you say on-demand pickup, what does that mean? I'm not familiar with that.
Sure. So those are, if you've been over in the two zones we have in your district are Northeast, which I think is your district. There's one that we call Pickup ATX Northeast, which is over off of Manor and Springdale area by the HEB on one. Yep. There's one there, and there's one over by Eastside Memorial is the other zone where we have, and there's more across the city. There's two more across the city. And then we do one, and it's for Manor. It's their service as a whole. Do that for the service for Leander. It's kicking off in Lago Vista in a couple of weeks for their service, but it's think Uber Lyft, but a smaller than the bus, right? Okay. And so it's an app you would download separate from Cap Metro's app, and we're doing upgrades as well. I should mention that our systems are getting upgraded where we can now do, or we want to be able to do more touchless paying. Where right now, you have to buy a card. If you can't afford to buy a monthly pass or a weekly pass, you're kind of paying more than everybody else. We're shifting our technology so that you can buy cards now, and you can do it where it's not here yet. It's going to be coming up soon. This is what we've been working on. But where you can buy a card, and once you hit that weekly fare, then that monthly fare, you wouldn't have to pay more fees. So you can now take advantage of having that monthly card without having to pay the monthly card fare up front, right? But when it comes to the innovation zone, these are like think Uber, Lyft, but for public transit, where you have the app, you call the vehicle. If it's within the zone, it will come to your zone where you are, pick you up, and take you anywhere in that zone. Whether it's our bus stop, pretty much all the zones have an HEB in it, I think, except for Manor, of course, has the Walmart. But it'll get you to wherever you want to go in that zone for the price of a bus fare. Or if you have a bus pass, that works. So if you work for the city of Austin and you have your pass for free, that works. If you're a UT student, that works. If you're a student, 12th grade and below, you ride for free. You ride for free. And so we can pick you up and take you anywhere in that zone you want to go and drop you off there, and then pick you up and take you back where you want to go in that zone. So it could be a bus stop. It could be the grocery store. It could be your doctor's office. It could be a friend's house. We don't care where you're going. We just want to help you get there. And we understood that, we tried many things. This came from Remap. We heard from the community of to fix some holes that we had for Remap. And that's what we were looking at. We didn't have this technology then when we were doing Remap. And you see how fast things can move. A couple of years later, you have this technology now on that. And because we tried out a couple other things, and this seems to be working where I think people are liking to have this on-demand service. Within 15 minutes, the vehicle will come pick you up. So you're not waiting very long, and you don't have to wait outside. That's the other thing. You can be in your house. It waits a few minutes for you to come outside and pick you up or what have you. You can be in your apartment, wherever you are. It will come get you. And I think that's going to be a game changer. And we want to have those all throughout the service area as part of Project Connect. You're seeing some of that now. And with that money that we'll have, we'll be able to do a lot more of those. So we can do that last mile connection, because we know people, in Austin, we don't have sidewalks everywhere, unfortunately, where we need to have them. And so it's hard for sometimes for people to get to the bus stop, or the bus stop may be far away from your neighborhood, just because of how the system is set up, that it may take you a longer walk to get there. Well, this could be connected to that. And so that's the goal, is to do that first last mile connection.
I really appreciate that you brought that up, because that's another component, right? This active transportation piece, the sidewalks, the bike lanes, all of the infrastructure needs to happen sort of simultaneously. You said so many things just now that sparked some questions in me, but I don't want to talk too long. We have one more guest tonight. So, but one of the things that you said that really got me thinking about, I would like to highlight that y'all are taking into consideration the conditions that people have to wait for buses in. So the shelters, that's so important. I mean, it was 101 today. It probably felt like 105 with the humidity factored in. So I really appreciate that y'all are recognizing the importance of the accommodations, amenities that are necessary when people are waiting to ride the bus. So that was something that popped into my head as you were speaking. And then the other thing I was going to talk about, the commitment to affordable housing, which is fantastic. So we actually have a question. Let's see. Selena asks, are there any plans to address accessibility? Oh, there, look at that. Da-da-da-da-da. Any plans to address accessibility in the area east of I-35 around the Breaker-Rumburg area, as far east as, let's say, Dessau?
That's a good question. I mean, that is an area that we're looking at. I know, I think that could be a possible area for a pickup where we could have something like that. There is plans for the future to have a rapid running from Tech Ridge down Dessau into ACC Highland. It's not a part of the initial investment that was voted on. What was that, Monday? I think the meeting was.
All the days are the same day, Giannis.
It's all a blur now. It's not a part of the initial investment, but there is a plan. It is a plan to have it come along as part of Project Connect to have something going from a rapid going from Tech Ridge down Dessau into ACC Highland. And so that could be part of another investment into the system. So, we are looking at that area to do some service there. There's possibly it could be a pickup zone at some point in that area as well. We're looking to see what will make sense with the funds that we have to say, okay, what can we put here that will be efficient, that will move people, and will be responsible for people's money.
I appreciate that. And you made me remember the other thing that I was thinking of. You said, you see how fast things happen, and you said it only took a couple years. I think that's one of the things that most laymen don't understand, is that these things require a commitment and an investment. And part of that investment is time. Revolutionizing antiquated transit infrastructure does not happen overnight. It took us, however many years it took us to get here. It's going to take us some time investment to get it right. So
it's a multi-generational plan. We're not suddenly, as we'll get everything built out in 2-3 years, or even the first phase done in 2 to 3 years. Building the blue and the orange line, and the blue line is from the airport up to North Lamar Transit Center. This is going to be looking about 7 years to build it out because you have to put in, the infrastructure. And the beautiful part, though, as we built the infrastructure, we can fix some of those inequities along that route where there needs to be sidewalks or there needs to be some kind of crossing safety. There's things that we can do to improve that area as it's being built out because we'll be in the street anyway, building it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this better. We'll be doing more outreach to the community about this to hear what what needs to be done.
I appreciate that. So, and I was actually just thinking that. I was thinking, how cool would it be if there was some kind of interactive tool so people could see exactly what goes into it so they understand why it takes so long. So really just, see that you have to repair the sidewalk infrastructure, see that you have to have the appropriate assets in terms of land in place in order to do you have to have staging. You have to have a place for the buses to go. You have to have a place for them to fuel. You have to, all those things. It would be really cool if there was something interactive. So I'm happy to hear that y'all are doing more community outreach and engagement. To really sort of tie up the answer to Selena's question, how would you recommend that people reach out to ask questions? How do you recommend that people reach out to contribute to the dialogue and really let y'all know where in their neighborhoods there's a shortage, a lack of access?
Sure. I mean, the best way to reach out to us, if it's Project Connect, you can go to Project Connect's website. You can email us at feedback@projectconnect.com. Or even if it's not Project Connect, you can email us at feedback@capitalmetro.org. And it's same for Project Connect. If you want to just do it all in one, that's fine. It comes to my department, and so the team I'm on, we would see it. And if it needs to get to the Project Connect office, the department, we can get it to them. But that's the best way. We'll have more meetings. We're trying to do as many meetings as possible. Yeah. We want to come to where the people are because at the end of the day, this is the people's plan. This is for the community, right? We want you to be invested in it. We want you to have a say in things and want to hear from you as we work on making this a better plan, a better system. And getting your feedback on what we can do and what we need to do and what you would like to see there. So, I think reaching out to us at feedback@capmetro.org is the best way to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Whew, that was a good one. That's a lot of good information. I really hope that people take you up on the offer to follow up. That was capmetro.org, but projectconnect.com and feedback@projectconnect.com. Right. I might be nosy and reach out to you and just kind of see where you're hearing, what parts of town, people are, where they're reaching out. I would even encourage folks, when you reach out to Cap Metro, let them know what council district you're in. I think this is the kind of feedback that all the council members would really appreciate being able to have. So Giannis, our time is ticking. You know what that looks like. Yes. Cap Metro Community Engagement Coordinator, Giannis Banks, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank
you on KAZI soon.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night. That's good. That's a lot. I hope that y'all take him up on that offer to reach out and let Cap Metro know what you need, where we're falling short, where we could, make some more considerations about things that need to get built in the plan. And I appreciate that he said, this is the community's transit and transportation infrastructure. We all need to, not only be able to benefit from it, but be able to contribute to its construction. So that was good. I appreciate Giannis for coming on. So we're going to turn the page and you see what I did there? To the Austin Public Library. This isn't your father's library system anymore. And there are much more than just paper pages involved. This is an increasingly dynamic institution with a growing emphasis on digital, online, and interactive assets. The physical facilities have been closed during the pandemic, but that's not stopping APL from attempting to really fulfill its mission. So here tonight to talk to us about what the library is up to these days and what they have on offer to keep kids stimulated, offer enrichment, to keep parents happy, is APL's Kathleen Houlihan. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I first of all, I love your flower. A little birdie told me that your son gave you that. So I appreciate that you wore it and brought a little sunshine with you tonight.
Thank you.
Kathleen, you mind telling us a little bit about your role at Austin Public Library?
Absolutely. So I'm the Teen Librarian 3 at the Central Library, and I supervise the staff and programs inside of the Teen Central space. But my real job is to uplift the voices of teens all over Austin to help them achieve their goals for making the city a better place. And we do that by partnering with teens to kind of co-create resources and events for teens, and by partnering with teen-led and teen-serving organizations to find places where the library can leverage its resources for the benefit of teens. So continuing with that theme of like, we're here for the community. This is the community's library. We want to do what y'all need.
Awesome. I really appreciate hearing that far too often. And you know what? The current climate has offered us the opportunity to recognize more than ever that we really need to embrace and respect and offer some dignity and grace to the voices of young people. They are not to be ignored. And so I bet your job is so cool. So let me ask you though, I think it might be too big of an ask to ask you what working through a pandemic has done to the entire library system. So maybe you could just tell us how it's affected your day-to-day job.
Sure. So I'm a mom of an AISD rising first grader, and we live in a 2-room house in Central Austin. So that's been a journey, figuring out how to support my son's learning and his emotional needs, while also trying to figure out how to navigate this new landscape. And then just figuring out where my teens are. Like, that was really hard. You wouldn't think it would be that hard to figure out where my teens are, but they're all in like closed Discord chats. So like, where do I find them that I can access them? And then how can we be helpful to them? And then practicing self-compassion too. So, and leading my team through that. So even though I can't see my team face to face every day, like we check in regularly, we do one-on-ones every week, and we just try and be there for each other and show compassion to each other throughout this time.
That's beautiful and so necessary. I think more than ever, people are taking the opportunity to really talk about self-care and compassion and care and patience for the folks around you. So physical school buildings were shut down for the last few weeks of our last school year. And it's looking like they're going to be shut down for the first few weeks of this upcoming school year with a lot of sort of ... question marks. What is APL doing to support learning at home?
Sure. So right now we're in kind of a critical period. AISD just found out from, TEA what that first couple of weeks could look like. So we've quickly tried to pivot to figuring out ways that we can support them. So we can't do that in a vacuum. We can't do that without our partners. So I know our administration is reaching out to community partners at AISD and Del Valley and our charter school partners. We've got librarians and staff who are reaching out on individual connection levels with our peers in teachers in the community, just to figure out how best to leverage what the library has to offer in the areas most needed in the community. So staff have been creating videos for this new platform called APL Plus. That is a really rich opportunity. It's a great innovation that's come out of this time period. And a lot of those videos can be incorporated into classroom units, like the Van Show, which is actually created by Mr. Gabriel, the youth librarian of the Windsor Park Branch Library, and it's a blue puppet monster who interviews authors and does virtual studio tours with illustrators, and those come with an educator's guide to help make it easy to incorporate them into a curriculum. And then we're also working on some new collaborative partnerships with different school districts that we hope to be able to finalize and announce some great ideas coming out of those soon. But like, really, reading is a great way to support learning at home. And there's so many great things that you get for free with your library card. You get ebooks, e-comics, e-audiobooks, streaming movies and music. It's a lot of stuff. And if you're ever struggling to access it, we do have virtual librarians who can help you either phone, chat, text, one-on-one in a virtual meeting. You can call us or hit us up. We have free e-cards for Austin residents. AISD and Del Valley ISD students get a free student card as of this past year. And a lot of times parents don't even know that their student has a card. So if you're not sure what your student's card number is, just give us a call and we'll look it up for you. But I would have to say, like, our best secret service that we offer at the library that I wish everybody knew about was free online tutoring and writing labs that you access online with your library card through this service called BrainFuse that the library pays for. It's amazing. And they also, fun fact for adults, they'll proofread your resume too. So if you need help with that, they're there for you too. But we also know like teens learn best, for example, when they're in their driver's seat. So we've got virtual volunteer opportunities for teens, and the volunteer application deadline is the 31st. So apply soon if you want to volunteer with us.
Awesome, man, that's a lot of stuff. We're going to have to figure out how to compile all that information and share it with our folks. Maybe it's something we could share in our newsletter.
Absolutely.
We'll figure it out, but that's a lot of good stuff and really cool programs. You've sent over a list of things that y'all are doing to support the community and just told us about a few of them. But there's one that really caught my eye: Wi-Fi hotspots for curbside checkout.
That's right.
I have to know more about that program.
Yeah. So we've been doing Wi-Fi hotspot checkout for a while now, for I think a couple of years. We have almost 100 available for checkout. And I just checked this morning and there are still some available for checkout. You put them on hold, you do curbside pickup, and you'll get your Wi-Fi hotspot and you get to check it out and take it home with you. And I just heard today that we got a new grant that'll enable us to really expand that program in a big way. So since that news is really fresh, more details as we have them. I'm really excited about expanding that program.
Awesome. That's amazing. It's, and speaking of the things that we've learned along the way during the course of this unprecedented time, it's one of those things that has really highlighted the issue with the digital divide, and people having access. So I really appreciate that y'all are doing that. And we have got to figure out a way to share all this information because our folks need to know. Is there a repository, like a central repository, where people can learn about all of these opportunities at APL?
So it's a lot of information. I'm not going to deny it. The library's website has a ton of information on it. But if you ever get stuck and you're like, I know this thing is a thing the library does, but I can't find it, please call us, 512-974-7400. Go online, click that Ask Us button. You'll get connected to one of our amazing reference librarians or our customer service staff, and they will help you find the resources you need. They'll help you navigate the whole process, get your device set up, get it all ready to go. We're here to help you.
Oh. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
I said it was 512-974-7400.
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. And I will pop it in. We'll pop it in the chat. We'll pop the website and the phone number in the chat so folks can go back and check it out. Here's a personal question.
Okay.
What is your favorite book?
Oh my gosh, I was hoping we were going to have time to talk about books, because here's my favorite book. I would show you the physical copy, except that I loaned it to a friend, and then that friend loaned it to a friend, and now it's like making the rounds, and it's that kind of book. So this is the book. I don't have a physical copy, but it's called Stamped. And it's by Jason Reynolds and Dr. Ibram X. Kendi. Some grownups may have read the grown-up version, Stamped from the Beginning, which is about 600 pages long. This is called lovingly Stamped Junior. And it is an amazing, amazing book. It is it's historical storytelling, but it's a vital resource for education that is written in a way that makes it accessible for readers of all ages. It's about the history of race and racism in the US, and the audio book is a masterpiece. So go listen to the audiobook if you're an audiobook fan.
Awesome. Thank you. So do you have any book recommendations for folks listening in other than your favorite? Are there any others that you'd like to have bubble to the top?
Yes. Okay. So for my teen friends who like fiction, check out Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. It's a powerful novel in verse written about two teens who live in worlds apart, but they secretly share the same father. I was totally riveted by this story from the first page. There's mystery and heartbreak, but also powerful dual narrators that had me invested in their futures. For my elementary school students, I would recommend Ghost Squad. This is for everybody who's is Dreaming of October already. This is by Claribel Ortega, and it's about a girl whose family business is ghosts, but she accidentally awakens a malicious spirit that wreaks havoc on the town. And it's kind of like a mashup between Coco and Ghostbusters. And I loved every moment of this action-packed adventure. And then for my little people, this is my first grader, my rising first grader has been like in this book all month long. Gustavo the Shy Ghost, which was also published at the same time in Spanish. And it's a great and powerful story about celebrating the value of everybody's individual strengths and finding new friends, even when we might be a little bit scared to do so. And it's an amazing book. And then the last one I want to recommend, I'm gonna try and pronounce the title correctly. It's Birrarung Willam, which is an Aboriginal story from Australia. It's a great story for kids who like books about animals. And it's a collaborative project between Aboriginal creators, author, illustrator, master storyteller, and it's a really incredible story.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Look, I hate to give you another job. I know you already have one, but if you wouldn't mind sharing those in the comment section underneath.
Absolutely.
Once we throw the video on our page, if you could share in the comment section your book recommendations, I think people would really appreciate it.
I sure will.
Stamped, because it sounds to me like, what's that film? The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. That's your book.
It is. It's that kind of book.
Well, that's awesome. I really, really appreciate you joining us tonight. It's been fantastic. Are there any things you'd like to leave us with? Any final thoughts? Any good information we didn't get a chance to cover?
So one thing we didn't get to cover was summer reading prize books. So we didn't get to have any of our summer reading programs this year, but we still have all the prize books. And so we've been putting those in people's bags when they're doing curbside pickup. So if you have a kid at home and you have books that you're putting on hold, we're going to stick a library prize book in there for your kiddo. And I just hope that you do curbside pickup, give it a try during this time. And then we can get your prize book in there for your child while you're getting your library books for checkout.
Awesome. My kids and I are going to hit the Carver, get our curbside books.
Absolutely.
Can you remind folks what curbside checkout looks like?
Yes. So curbside checkout, you're going to go online, you're going to reserve your books just like usual. You're going to put a hold on them is what it's called. And then when they're ready, we're going to give you a call and let you know, either by email or a phone call. And then when you are there to pick it up, you tell us what spot you're in. They've got numbers. You give us a call on the phone. We'll bring them out to your car and we'll put them in your trunk.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, I'm really loving how everybody's found the opportunity to pivot and adapt. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, Kathleen Houlihan from the Austin Public Library, this has been an absolute pleasure. And I really want to say thank you so much for being with us tonight. I hope you had a good time, and I hope maybe you'll come back and visit us again. Would love to check in with you and just sort of see how things are evolving as we start to adapt and adjust to our new norms.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, y'all. Well, so that does it for this week's edition of Talk with Tasha. I hope you had a good time and learned some stuff. And before we head out, though, I want to note that the Capital Area Food Bank will be operating a mobile food pantry at the Travis County Expo Center tomorrow. So speaking of the far eastern crescent, that's out there off sort of that Loyola Decker area. So Capital Area Food Bank, mobile food pantry at the Travis County Expo Center tomorrow. They'll be handing out boxes of produce, meats and proteins, milk and other provisions from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So that's tomorrow, July 30th. At the Travis County Expo Center from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. They're only taking drive-ups, and they do ask that people clear space in their trunks so the volunteers can just very safely load it up for you, just like the Austin Public Library. So you pop your trunk, they pop it in for you, they close it, and you keep moving and avoid, the contact, and everybody's, operating with an abundance of caution. There's more information about that in a post on my Facebook page, which is if you're watching this, then you know where to go for my Facebook page. Also, don't forget, the city is now taking applications from childcare providers for up to $50,000 in grant money. So you can find information about that and other opportunities at atxrecovers.com. That's atxrecovers.com. There's always up-to-date information, always up-to-date information. I mean, they literally update it probably multiple times a day. The most accurate, most up-to-date COVID-19 information and the city's response to the pandemic at www.austintexas.gov/COVID-19. That's www.austintexas.gov/COVID-19. We'll see you here next Wednesday at 6:30. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and where you're able, try to have some fun. Good night, y'all.